It seems like every fall I tell myself I have my backpacking kit completely dialed in and couldn't possibly need any new gear, and yet, come spring, there's a pile of new gear. It's just one of those miracles of backpacking. Hey guys, I'm Dan from Shastabubba Adventures, and if you're a gear addict like me, then sit back and enjoy while I do the show and tell of all the new gear I've gathered for 2024. And two special things today. First, I'll be sharing a 15% discount code on one of these items, and second, stick around to the end and I'll answer the riddle from the last video and tell you about the single most expensive item I've ever purchased that costs more than a DCF tent, and here's a hint, it's not electronic. Also, I'll put links to all this gear in the description below if you want to check this stuff out for yourself. I ordered a box of goodies from my friends at Garage Grown Gear, and here's what's in it. My old thermometer had glitched out on me, so I decided to get a new one, and it looks like it's going to be a step up in functionality. This is the Thermal Drop from ThermalWorks. It weighs a ½ ounce, and like my old thermometer, it records the minimum and maximum temps for the last 24 hours. But unlike the old one, this unit also has a light, so I can read it at night without groping around for the headlamp. Of course, it's switchable between Fahrenheit and Celsius. It's water resistant, so you don't have to worry about it in the rain. And the display is auto-rotating, which is another nice feature. So I think I'm going to be pretty happy with this little guy. Comes in a lot of cool colors too. Next, I splurged on an all-weather pen from Right in the Rain. I always carry a few journal pages in a Ziploc bag and like to record the details of the day, like mileage and elevation gain and loss. But it seems like every pen I take either fails in the field or barely works due to the natural humidity of nighttime in the woods. This pen has a pressurized cartridge of ink and states that it will write upside down and in any weather. It comes in a 2-pack, so you can see how it looks both stored and in use, and the weight is 0.8 ounces. Right in the Rain also makes a special paper that can be used in all weather, but I'm going to try it first with the regular paper and see if I can get away with just that. Then I finally decided to invest in odor-proof food bags from OPSAC. Now, I've resisted taking this step because I believe that my bear hangs are good enough deterrents, but the logic finally caught up to me that if there's one simple step I could add to my process of food storage that would greatly increase the likelihood of keeping food safe from the critters, why wouldn't I do that, right? So I'm going to give that a try and see whether it's a pain to deal with a bag inside of a bag or actually no big deal for a significant benefit. It might be difficult to gauge how effective they are given that I've never actually had anything get in my bear hangs, but if I'm honest, there have been a few occasions when the conditions have led me to do a pretty lame hang, and I would like the added assurance of those bags to sleep better at night when that happens. The last thing I threw into the order from Garage Grown Gear was a pure impulse buy. I thought these overnight oats from Delicious Oats looked really good. Although when I pulled them out of the box, I wondered why I spent money on this when I realized that pretty much any oatmeal could be soaked overnight. Still, checking out the list of ingredients, it does look pretty good with peanut, flour, monk fruit, coconut powder, and cinnamon in addition to the rolled oats, but it's going to have to really wow me with flavor in order to convince me not to just make my own mix at home. I will say that there's a lot of food in this pouch, so I'll be splitting this in two and thus cutting the costs in half. Incidentally, Garage Grown Gear looks to be running a 10% discount across the whole website at the moment, so now's a good time to stock up on whatever big or little items you've been thinking of. One aspect of being a YouTuber that nobody talks about is that even a little guy like me gets daily emails from various companies asking for collaborations. Most of them are pretty funny and read something like, "We really love your videos, insert name here, and believe that your audience would be a great fit for our brand of travel cosmetics," or cordless garden tools, stuff like that. But once in a while I get contacted by a legit company, and that's how I came to own an air pump from Flextail. I had actually just been thinking I ought to try out their pump for inflating sleeping pads because a buddy of mine has one and swears it really is a nice labor saver. And they must have read my thoughts to have reached out right when I was in that frame of mind, and offered to send me a new pump for free. Now the timing was especially good considering they just came out with the new smaller model, which is this guy. It's called the Zero Pump, and it's 1 inch wide and just under 3 inches long. Now you may have noticed these popping up all over the place, so the marketing department at Flextail is really earning their keep, although including both me and Senior Hiker 77 must mean they're digging deep into the geezer crowd. Sending me a free Zero Pump creates an obvious bit of bias, but I'm not actually under any obligation to give a positive review, and there's a nice benefit for you also because Flextail provided me with a discount code too. So if you click on the link below and use the code BUBBA15, you can get 15% off this little darling. First impressions, it is really light. The website claims 1.2 ounces, but that's just the pump. So in reality, with the battery and nozzle, it's more like 2.2 ounces. Still, that's the same weight as the stuffed sack inflator that comes with a sleeping pad. It comes with 6 different nozzles that fit most common pads, and they're a nice soft rubber that seem well made. I especially appreciate that it's powered by a rechargeable but removable battery, and I wish other companies would adopt that technology so we could have the best of both worlds and extend the life of other electronics while saving the planet by avoiding single-use batteries. I'm looking at you, SteriPen. Downsides, it makes a really high-pitched whine, kind of about the same frequency as a mosquito, so not crazy about that. However, they claim it will inflate most pads in under a minute, so I guess I can stand disturbing the peace of the forest for a minute. It does kind of go against my preference to use a technological solution when the analog version of using the inflating sack works just great, so I plan to try this out this year, and we'll see whether the convenience of the Zero Pump will justify that shift. On the advice of my fellow backpacking YouTuber Justin Outdoors, I decided to try the Aloof 2.0 travel pillow from Trekology, and I'm really glad I did. Justin does a lot of great reviews, but he seems to be especially focused on finding the perfect pillow for backpacking, and I appreciate his efforts because they all look the same in the pictures. It's only by actually doing the work of sleeping on each pillow that you can determine the best, and for me, this is it. I got this pillow after I made last year's new gear video, but early enough that I've been able to use it on more than a handful of nights and can now say it's become my preferred pillow, replacing my old favorite, which was the combination of the down pillow from Goose Feet Gear with the Climate X pillow shoved in the sleeve. I still love the feeling of down on my face, but the Trekology pillow is lighter, cheaper, and about the same level of comfort while taking less space in the pack. It's comfortable because of the cupped shape of the pillow and the softness of the top fabric, as well as the fact that it doesn't have the annoying tendency of air pillows to close off the ear when you lay on it. It's also got a very functional one-way inflation valve, so it's easy to blow up. Anyway, since I've had the opportunity to sleep on this pillow several nights already, I'm prepared to call this one a win. Next, for many years, I've been using an old pair of Helly Hansen rain pants for backpacking, mainly just because that's what I owned already. And I made them ultralight by cutting off the legs about mid-calf level. These have been functional for a long time, but they don't breathe at all. So they've been great for sitting around camp, but when I'm hiking in them, I ended up nearly as wet inside from sweat as outside. That's why I've been keeping my eye open for the cheapest pair of actual Gore-Tex rain pants I could find as a replacement, and REI finally helped me out by running a discount on their own zero-dry Gore-Tex rain pants. Now, I do plan to operate on these and cut off the ankle zips to save weight, but I haven't done that yet because even with the zips, the weight is 10.5 ounces, so not too bad. I found it works just fine to cut the bottom of the legs off above the ankle zips because my hiking pants usually get wet anyways from walking through saturated brush and stream crossings, and the hiking pants are also quick to dry, so it's no big deal to lose the zips and save nearly half the weight. But since these are really nice rain pants, I thought I would give them a try in their whole state first before taking that rather radical step. Also, I use rain pants as insulation when packrafting, so it might be wise to keep the lower part intact. Time will tell. A few months ago, I also broke down and purchased an item I've been craving for years, and that's the Torid Pullover from Enlightened Equipment. This has 2-ounce ClimaShield Apex synthetic insulation and provides a great warmth to weight ratio at 9.5 ounces for my size large. I do have another lightweight synthetic puffy in my Rab Xenon jacket that has worked well for a long time, but I find the pullover style to be a bit warmer than jackets, and I really love the large marsupial pocket for holding gear while doing camp chores, not to mention actually warming my hands. So I can't wait to get this out on the trail. Speaking of puffies, as I'm making this list, it's becoming apparent what a big chunk of my gear budget went to REI this year, because they keep pulling me back in with their dang discounts. So I also pulled the trigger on this, the cold front down hoodie from OR, which was 70% off at one point and looks to still be 40% off, although I think they're quickly running out of the common sizes. I got this mainly to plug a gap in my daily use wardrobe because I have some light coats that are good above 50 degrees and a huge down parka from LL Bean for when it dips below 10 degrees, but anything in between I've just been layering to get by. From the moment I received this coat in the mail about 2 months ago, I've worn no other coat because this one is so perfect. The material is highly wind resistant and moderately water resistant, so I've been comfy walking the few blocks from my office to the gym in all kinds of weather, and with the hood flipped up, it's really cozy. The pockets are lined with an inviting brushed tricot, and the hood has a very effective cinch to lock it down in the wind. I also like the length in the back too. The only downside is the weight. The cold front comes in at 21 ounces, which is a bit heavy for a down puffy. My Western Mountaineering flash jacket is less than half that weight, but more than double the price. So, if you're on a budget and don't mind carrying it, the cold front might be a great do-everything go-to coat even at the regular price, but also might be a good use of your annual 20% off coupon. Of course, there's also the Torid I just talked about, which is also half the weight and about the same price, but not quite as warm as the cold front. A couple of years ago, I splurged on buying an Etherlite sleeping pad from Sea to Summit, and that's been working pretty well for me. It's very comfortable, and I usually sleep great on it, but at 3.2, the R value really is only good for warm weather hiking. There's an interesting pattern I've noticed as people move from a closed cell foam pad to typically the X-Lite from Thermarest, adding a bit more weight for a lot more comfort, and then like me deciding to try a few more ounces for even more comfort, and at that point the trail diverges, either to the Etherlite or the Nemo Tensor. This year the Tensor had an upgrade, and that meant I could snag an awesome deal on the old version, which was still really great. So I got the Nemo Tensor Ultralight Insulated, which is 22 ounces for the long wide version, 1 ounce lighter than the Etherlite, but jumping up to 4.2 on the R value. On the other hand, the Tensor is 3 inches thick versus 4 inches for the Etherlite, so we'll see whether the comfort level measures up. By the end of the season, I expect to have enough time dozing on the Tensor so that I can do a head-to-head comparison of these two great and really popular sleeping pads. Gear testing is such hard work. By the way, it's a great buying tip for backpacking gear to always watch for new versions of things, because many times the old version is just fine for most people's needs. So if we resist the desire to always have the latest and greatest, grabbing the old version on closeout can be a really wise buying opportunity. Next up, I'm always happy to learn new things, so even though I've been packrafting for about 10 years now, I was thrilled to pick up this new Packrafting Handbook by Luke Mell and Sarah Glazer. No less than Roman Dial called it the definitive text on the sport, and I think that's a perfect description. In clear writing and with helpful illustrations by Sarah, covering all aspects of packrafting, Luke explains everything from paddle strokes to reading the river, and there's even an extensive section on river rescue. I highly recommend this book to both beginners and experts who are willing to have the openness of a beginner mind. And that brings me at last to answering the riddle of what costs more than a DCF tent, and the answer is a new Packraft. After years of getting by with a very used and only partly functional model, I finally decided to invest in a brand new Packraft from Packraft. After much deliberation, I settled on the Wolverine model with the self-bailing style for the ease of entry and exit when navigating narrow streams with potential strainers like most of the rivers in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. I'm also really looking forward to stowing all my gear inside the Packraft tubes instead of tying it on top as I've always had to do so far. And that should make the boat far more stable. The shape of the boats has been redesigned too, making them much more maneuverable, and I'm wondering just how much trouble I can get into with that fact in my head. They have a lead time of 4 weeks, so my raft is currently under construction in Colorado, but I can tell you honestly, my head is practically exploding with excitement, and I can't wait to get it and show it off to you, which will of course require a whole another video all to itself. It's going to be a great year of backpacking trips, and I have at least 2 specific packrafting expeditions planned in the Bob, so stay tuned for those. Thanks so much to the folks who are still here. I know this was kind of a long one. Who knew there would be so much new gear to discuss? Thanks for watching, and thanks again so much for subscribing. You guys are truly awesome, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I'll see you next time. Take care. All right, Then Roman Dial called it the definitive text on the sport. It's the part. And I can't wait to get it. Well, I got the end okay, but did you hear my stomach rumbling?